Tell me about the day before the shooting.
He was at the office and we were going to meet for dinner beforehand with a dear friend of ours who I wanted to just be with us and pray with us. The event that happened with Charlie, the assassination with Charlie. And so I know that, you and I even talked about how I used to say, Charlie, have you ever thought about wearing a vest? He would nod to that and be like, I've looked into it. But he would always say, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. He wasn't afraid.
Now the tension is getting very close to home. What started as online discussion is reportedly turning into something much more personal. According to people familiar with the situation, Erika Kirk's mother is not upset about random internet chatter. The real concern, they say, comes from something far more sensitive. Charlie Kirk's own mother has reportedly begun quietly questioning parts of the story that the public has heard. And when a parent starts looking more closely at events surrounding their child's final months, the atmosphere can change quickly. Since Charlie's passing, Erika has remained very visible. She has spoken with confidence and presented a clear narrative about what happened during those final days. On the surface, the message has appeared steady and controlled. But individuals close to the family say that behind closed doors, Charlie's mother may have heard details that do not perfectly match the polished version shared publicly. That is where the pressure reportedly started to grow. For months, Erika has maintained a strong public presence, calm interviews, composed appearances, and carefully structured statements. From the outside, everything seems stable, yet some people who claim to know the situation say a different picture may exist privately. According to those voices, Charlie may have experienced more isolation in his final months than many people realized. If that detail is accurate, it would shift the entire tone of the conversation surrounding those final weeks. After Charlie passed,
what I did not know, and this is what was told to me, that he also messaged Dan Flood, the security that's to his right, and allegedly explicitly said that they are going to kill me tomorrow.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love.
But he was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered, they're coming after me, someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
Erika became the most consistent person speaking about what his final days looked like. At first, most listeners accepted her explanation without hesitation. It seemed natural, a grieving spouse trying to make sense of a shocking and emotional moment. But as time passed, some observers began noticing small differences between her accounts, and those differences gradually started raising questions. In an early interview with the New York's Times, Erika described the night before Charlie's final trip as tense and emotionally heavy. She spoke about having dinner with a faith leader. She mentioned encouraging Charlie to wear protective equipment. She also said a friend suggested he consider speaking from behind protective glass during an upcoming appearance. The way she described that evening created a strong sense of urgency and concern. But just a few weeks later, during a live interview with Megyn Kelly, Erika described the very same night in a completely different way. In that version, the evening was calm and ordinary. No tension, no visible concern, nothing unusual at all. Just a normal night before travel. Those two descriptions have been difficult for some observers to reconcile. One paints a picture of heightened worry and caution. The other suggests a routine evening with no obvious signs of stress. That contrast reportedly caught Charlie's mother's attention in a serious way.
He was never afraid of that. Neither was I. Obviously, we protect our children. We don't show their faces on the internet, so that's very intentional. But I think we lived our life in such a way where if that was our last day, it was our last day. Like, we always lived as if it was the last day. That's why Charlie's speeches were so good.
According to individuals who say they are familiar with the family's concerns, Charlie's mother began privately reviewing Erika's interviews side by side. The more closely she compared the details, the more unsettled she reportedly became. It was not simply a small difference in wording. The overall tone, the emotion, and the urgency all appeared different. When stories evolve in noticeable ways, people naturally begin asking tougher questions. Some critics believe Erika may not have been completely clear about certain parts of the timeline. Others argue that grief can influence how memories are described and recalled. Emotional situations can change how people remember events, But regardless of the explanation, those differences in detail sparked concern behind the scenes. Candace Owens also made it clear that she was not fully convinced by the shifting accounts. She pointed to what she believed were contradictions in the timeline. In particular, she referenced messages that Charlie reportedly sent during that period, suggesting he may have been thinking about certain issues in a way that did not fully align with Erika's public narrative. Around that same time, Candace brought attention to another moment that intensified the discussion. She referenced a reported Zoom meeting on September 9th involving Charlie, Josh Hammer, and a rabbi based in Israel. According to information shared by her sources, the conversation allegedly focused on political strategy rather than something casual. That claim quickly circulated online. This is where the situation reportedly became even more concerning for Charlie's mother. According to individuals discussing the timeline, Charlie may have sent messages after that call to two people close to him, including someone connected to his security team.
Really interesting that on Charlie Kirk's list of priorities, he did not even name his wife.
Wrote on everything. He has papers everywhere. This says, it's the priorities. It says family, children, legacy, kids number one.
Who are Charlie's parents? I think that is a question that we have all asked. Matter of fact, let me just take it a step further. Where are his cousins?
The wording that has circulated online is that he believes someone might try to take him out. It is important to note that the existence of that message has never been officially confirmed. But if such a message did exist, it would significantly change how people interpret that period of time. It would suggest that any concern he may have expressed was not simply about public criticism or media headlines. It would imply that something during that conversation left a powerful impression on him. Erika has pushed back against several claims circulating online. At the same time, critics say the absence of detailed responses on certain points has only encouraged more speculation. And according to people speaking about the situation, that is when Charlie's mother reportedly began examining everything more closely. Because at the center of this entire discussion sits one question that refuses to disappear. Is the full story being told? And is Charlie's legacy being protected in the way his family believes it should be? Those questions reportedly stayed in Charlie's mother's mind as she began looking at other parts of the story as well. According to people familiar with the family's concerns, she allegedly started revisiting Erika's personal timeline, including earlier stories about how Erika and Charlie first met. Over time, Erika has shared several versions of that meeting. In one account, she described a chance airport encounter while traveling with her mother during a spiritual trip. In another explanation, she said she was simply traveling for work. She repeated that version more than once. Later, another version suggested their connection began through an online message. On their own, each version could seem believable, but when placed side by side, they do not perfectly line up.
She screams in the middle of a parking lot. She screams in the middle of a doctor's office. Everybody kind of knows where they were when Charlie got shot. Okay, if this doctor's office had people in it, there's going to be someone who said, hey, I heard a giant scream at my doctor's office, even if they didn't see her. And then I looked at my phone, and 15 minutes later, I learned that Charlie got shot. No one can confirm that they saw Erika on this date where she was behaving super shady and just giving me a very straightforward alibi and pretending like they didn't understand the instructions of this alibi for Fort Huachuca. Don't buy Charlie suddenly needed advice from a pastor, a priest, and a rabbi. It sounds ridiculous.
Some people who reviewed older social media posts believe Erika may have been aware of Charlie's work and presence as early as 2015, several years before the timeline she later described publicly. Another detail that has drawn attention is the connection through Cabot Phillips. Erika previously dated Cabot Phillips, and Cabot was personally acquainted with Charlie. Public photos show the two men together on multiple occasions. Because of that overlap, some observers find it difficult to believe that Erika had absolutely no awareness of Charlie's world before their eventual relationship. But the speculation intensified most when the discussion turned toward the children. For years, online conversations have occasionally questioned whether Charlie was the biological father of all of Erika's children. Many people dismissed those claims as unfair gossip and chose not to engage with them. However, some observers pointed to Erika's earlier public posts as part of the reason those questions continued circulating. Less than a year before Erika and Charlie became engaged, Erika had publicly shared strong feelings about professional baseball player JT Massey. She described him as her favorite person and posted affectionate photos of them together. Then, according to public timelines, that relationship appeared to end rather suddenly. Soon afterward, Erika was seen spending time with Charlie. Their relationship moved quickly, The engagement followed not long after, and she became pregnant soon afterward as well.
I said it was on September 8th that he texted and said, I'm abandoning the pro-Israel cause. Well, Josh Hammer came out and clarified that actually Charlie sent that text message on September 9th, the day before he died. Many people know that Charlie sensed that he was going to die tomorrow is an absolute fact. Why these individuals are all being quiet about that is a massive question mark, okay?
Around that same period, Cabot Phillips also welcomed a child of his own. When people began placing those timelines side by side, it created a wave of online discussion that has continued ever since. According to people familiar with the situation, Charlie's parents reportedly made a private request for DNA testing. Those close to them say the request was not intended as an attack or accusation. Instead, it was described as an attempt to bring clarity to a situation that had become increasingly complicated. Once those discussions reportedly began behind the scenes, the tone of the entire situation shifted into a much more serious space. Over time, what started as quiet uncertainty gradually turned into deeper tension within private family conversations. Individuals who claim to know the family's perspective say Charlie's parents were not reacting to online headlines or gossip. What concerned them, they say, were patterns. When timelines appear to overlap, origin stories change, and major life milestones happen very quickly. It can create a sense that events move faster than expected. Family members reportedly began asking straightforward questions. When did certain relationships actually begin? When did others come to an end? Were there periods of overlap that were never publicly discussed? On their own, those questions are not accusations. But when answers feel unclear or delayed, it can naturally lead to concern within a family. One detail that reportedly stood out to observers was how Erika's public messaging appeared to shift in the months after Charlie passed. In the earliest interviews, she emphasized unity and shared purpose. She described him as steady, focused.
She doesn't want to address. I've looked everywhere. I would like to know more about Charlie's last day. I can obviously put together what Frank said. I can put together what his schedule was, but that's not a question that she's comfortable answering. And by the way, that dear friend she's referencing, of course, we now know is a priest that came over to pray over Charlie and Erika's marriage the night before, is what I am told. We know happens thereafter is Charlie concludes this call with Josh and the rabbi, and then he sends off text messages to his security chief, Dan Flood, also to Andrew Colvett, and he says to them that they are going to kill me. Who is they? Well, Erika wants us to believe that he was referring to the left.
And deeply grounded in his beliefs. Later interviews, however, placed more emphasis on urgency and potential external pressures. That change in tone caught the attention of some viewers. When tone changes, people often begin re-examining everything that came before it. At the same time, individuals close to Charlie's family say there were private conversations taking place that the public never saw. These discussions were reportedly centered on legacy, on intellectual property, on the long-term direction of organizations connected to Charlie's name. And that is where emotions allegedly became more intense. Once someone's life work becomes connected to foundations, speaking events, trademarks, and established messaging, the stakes grow far beyond personal grief. The conversation shifts toward who will guide that message moving forward and how the legacy will be represented in the years ahead. Sources say Charlie's parents were particularly focused on protecting what they believed reflected their son's long-term vision. According to people who have spoken about the family's concerns, they worried that certain shifts in messaging did not fully reflect the positions he had previously expressed. This is not a legal claim, but rather a family concern about maintaining consistency with what they believed Charlie stood for. Another topic that continued to attract attention was the timeline of Erika and Charlie's relationship. Online critics have closely examined how quickly the relationship appeared to develop.
He was not messaging people the day before saying, I'm going to be murdered, they're coming after me, someone's going to kill me. He didn't say that. And I have his cell phone.
And low-key, that silence is what really set things off.
Standing there at the ticket line, and there was a guy who was checking out with the guy, you know what I'm talking about. Get your ticket, check your bag. And I see him and I was like, I tell my mom, I was like, that guy looks really familiar. And my mom was like, go say hi.
From their first public appearances together to engagement and pregnancy, the timeline moved rapidly. Supporters say fast-moving relationships happen all the time. Others argue that when timelines move that quickly in a high-profile situation, people naturally look more closely. Both views exist. And that difference in perspective keeps the conversation active. There is also discussion around archived digital activity. Some observers have pointed to older social media interactions that appear to show overlapping circles long before the couple publicly described their first meeting. That does not prove wrongdoing. However, when a relationship becomes part of a public narrative, even small digital details can attract intense attention. At the center of this sensitive situation is something far more personal: trust. When family members begin questioning details, it usually goes far beyond media headlines. It often comes from instinct and emotion. According to several individuals who say they understand the family's perspective, Charlie's mother reportedly felt that some aspects of the story simply did not feel consistent on an emotional level. Not legally, not publicly. Emotionally, she reportedly struggled with the idea that Charlie may have felt more isolated during his final months than the public narrative suggested. Isolation has become a word that surfaces repeatedly in private discussions. According to those sources, some people claim Charlie was more distanced from longtime allies during that period. Others strongly reject that.
He got finished with his burger and he just sat there and he looked at me and he's like, "You know what? I'm not going to hire you." And I was like, "That's fine. I don't need this job. I'm doing plenty of other things here in Manhattan." He's like, "I'm going to date you." And
idea and say he remained closely connected to his inner circle. Without direct documentation, these remain personal perspectives rather than verified conclusions. But even perceptions can carry emotional weight. Another factor quietly unfolding in the background involves trademark and name usage. When a public figure's name carries influence, questions of ownership and control can become complicated. Decisions about how that name is used in books, speeches, branding, or future projects can quickly create disagreements. In many families, spouses and relatives simply have different views about how a legacy should be managed. That alone can create tension. Supporters of Erika argue that as Charlie's spouse, she has every right to guide the message and continue the work connected to his mission. Critics believe the broader family voice should have equal influence in shaping that future. This difference of opinion over direction has reportedly grown stronger since observers began noticing the earlier interview inconsistencies. Although much of this discussion is happening privately, its ripple effects have spread online. Communities across the internet analyze every interview clip. They review body language, they compare transcripts from different appearances, they search through archived posts from years ago. The digital age rarely forgets. Once people begin questioning timelines, the internet often continues examining them closely. It is also important to separate confirmed facts from interpretation. There has been no official ruling declaring deception. There has been no verified statement confirming every rumor circulating online. What exists right now is tension, divided opinions, and a series of unanswered questions that continue to be discussed. At its emotional core, this story appears to revolve around one central issue: legacy. Who defines it, who protects it, and who guides it into the future? People familiar with Charlie's family say that is what matters most to them. They reportedly want clarity rather than confusion, transparency rather than shifting tones, and consistency rather than narratives that continue evolving over time. Meanwhile, Erika continues to present a composed public presence. She appears steady, focused, and determined. Supporters view that as strength during a difficult moment. Critics see it as carefully structured messaging. Two completely different interpretations of the same behavior. As time goes on, the situation has not fully cooled. In fact, the quiet questions seem to be growing louder. The relationship timeline, the evolving narratives, the family concerns, and the discussions about legacy have all blended together into a complex story that refuses to fade away. Perhaps the biggest reason the conversation continues is because it still feels unresolved. The situation does not feel finished. It feels paused, almost suspended, waiting for clarity that has not yet arrived. Until that clarity appears, speculation continues filling the gaps. Family tensions reportedly remain unsettled. Supporters remain loyal. Critics remain skeptical. And the debate over what truly happened behind closed doors continues to simmer quietly beneath the surface. Right now, there are still more questions than answers. And when questions remain this long in a high-profile situation, people rarely stop paying attention. They keep watching. What was supposed to be a quiet, respectful attempt to clear the air reportedly turned into something far more tense than anyone expected. According to people familiar with the situation, Charlie's parents believe the best path forward was a calm, private conversation. No cameras, no headlines, just family sitting down to talk things through. They reportedly hoped that a direct discussion could settle misunderstandings and prevent the situation from spiraling further in public. But insiders say the response they received felt less like an open conversation and more like a firm shutdown. And that's when the atmosphere truly began to change. From Erika's side of the story, sources claim her mother believes outside voices, especially Candace Owens, have influenced Charlie's parents and intensified their concerns. She reportedly feels that certain narratives are being shaped in ways that create doubt and tension where none originally existed. In her view, this is not about hidden facts or secrets. She believes it is a case of grief becoming tangled inside a much larger public debate. But individuals close to Charlie's family describe a very different perspective. According to them, Charlie's mother believes Erika's mother has been heavily involved in shaping Erika's public messaging from the very beginning, not simply offering emotional support, but helping guide tone, structure, and timing of public appearances.
When I met Charlie, the only reason I sat down with him because I thought it was a consulting position for work. I did not date in Manhattan. I saw the pits of hell of the dating pool through my roommates.
I get a random DM on Instagram, and you never know, like, if these people are the real people or whatever. Anyways, so it was Charlie. It was in my DMs, and he was like, "Hey, I'm in New York. I want to sit down and talk to you about the Faith stuff. I have a Fox hit," total, like, name drop. "I have a Fox hit to do out in the city, and then I need to meet with you afterwards, so it's going to be really late."
Makes sense to me as I was doing this timeline, because I remember when Charlie met Erika. I remember Tyler setting this up. I remember the conversations, and I still have the conversations, thankfully, because I delete nothing.
These sources say Charlie's mother feels the public narrative has been carefully managed since the earliest days following Charlie's passing. That belief is where the situation reportedly deepened beyond a simple disagreement, because when both sides start believing the other family is influencing the public narrative, the conflict changes completely. It stops being one person's account versus another's explanation. Instead, it becomes two families defending their understanding of events. What once looked like tension between a widow and her in-laws has reportedly evolved into something more emotional: mother versus mother. Family conflicts are already complicated in private settings. When those disagreements play out while thousands of people online analyze every detail, the pressure multiplies dramatically. Every interview suddenly becomes something people dissect. Every public statement becomes evidence in someone's theory. Even silence starts raising eyebrows. Now there is another development that has observers paying even closer attention. According to several insiders, Charlie's mother is allegedly considering sitting down directly with Candace Owens. This would not be for spectacle or publicity, according to those sources. Instead, the idea would be to compare notes and better understand where certain claims and questions first began circulating. If such a conversation happens, it could become a turning point in how the entire situation unfolds. Candace has already been very open about questioning several aspects of the timeline. She has pointed out what she sees as inconsistencies in interviews, gaps in certain details, and moments where narratives appear to shift. If Charlie's mother were to publicly align with some of those concerns, even partially, it could dramatically change how people interpret everything that has happened so far. At the same time, supporters of Erika argue she has been navigating enormous pressure since the beginning of this situation. They emphasize that grief can influence how memories are described over time. They also point out that constant public scrutiny can push people into defensive positions. From their perspective, what critics call strategy might simply be someone trying to survive a relentless spotlight. Critics, however, remain unconvinced. They argue that some details appear too polished, too carefully framed, too adjusted depending on the moment. And when multiple inconsistencies begin stacking up, even small ones, trust can begin to erode quickly. Candace, in particular, has continued highlighting aspects of Erika's past that she believes deserve closer examination. She has discussed Erika's earlier political positioning, prior relationships, and certain personal connections that critics say were never fully explained publicly. According to Candace, those background details are not random. She believes they may help explain some of the tensions being discussed today. That claim alone has dramatically increased public curiosity. Because if past connections influence, present narratives, people naturally begin looking back through earlier moments for context. Archived posts, old interviews, timeline markers that once seemed ordinary suddenly become points of analysis. Observers across social media have started revisiting digital history from years ago, searching for overlaps between social circles and public statements. Some believe they see connections that were not obvious before. Others argue the internet is simply reading too much into normal life changes and relationships. But the most sensitive issue in this entire situation may be something far bigger than personal disagreements: legacy. Charlie's name now carries influence beyond his lifetime. Organizations connected to his work, intellectual property tied to his ideas, future speaking events, books, and projects that could carry his message forward. Whoever ultimately guides that narrative will also shape how he is remembered for years to come. Sources say that is what concerns Charlie's parents the most, not social media discussions, not trending topics, but long-term stewardship of their son's legacy. They reportedly want reassurance that the principles he stood for will remain consistent moving forward and will not be reshaped over time. Meanwhile, Erika continues presenting a calm and composed presence during public appearances. She speaks confidently and appears focused on continuing forward. Supporters see that as strength during an incredibly difficult chapter. Critics interpret the same composure as carefully structured messaging, the same actions viewed in two completely different ways. Then there is something that cannot easily be measured or documented: instinct. Several individuals close to the situation claim Charlie's mother simply feels that certain emotional pieces do not fully line up. Not legally, not procedurally, emotionally. They say she feels there may still be parts of the story she has not seen or understood yet. Whether that instinct is correct or not, it reportedly continues driving her search for answers. When a parent feels uncertainty about their child's final chapter, closure can become incredibly difficult. Without that sense of closure, questions tend to linger much longer than anyone expects. Adding another layer to the situation are reported discussions about trademarks and name usage quietly unfolding behind the scenes. When a public figure's name carries influence, decisions about ownership and branding can become extremely complicated. Contracts, rights, and long-term planning often enter the picture. And when spouses and parents have different visions for the future, tension can grow quickly. Supporters say Erika has every legal right to guide the next chapter. Critics argue that moral stewardship should involve a broader family voice. That debate alone is powerful enough to create lasting divisions. Now, with talk of a possible conversation between Charlie's mother and Candace Owens, the situation feels like it may be approaching a crossroads. If that meeting happens, many questions will follow. Will timelines be compared? Will private concerns become public? Or will it remain a quiet discussion behind closed doors? No one knows yet, but anticipation continues building. Because if deeper details ever surface, they would not just affect family relationships. They could reshape how the entire story is understood by the public. And in high-profile situations, perception can influence everything. It is also important to remember that none of these claims have been confirmed through official findings. Much of the discussion comes from insiders and commentators interpreting events as they see them. That distinction matters. Speculation and verified facts are not the same. Still, unanswered questions rarely fade on their own. Right now, what we are watching is a layered conflict: grief mixed with messaging, family loyalty mixed with public scrutiny, and legacy mixed with influence. And at the center of it all are two mothers who both believe they are protecting something deeply important. Whether that protection eventually leads to reconciliation or further division remains unclear. But one thing is certain: the story is far from settled. If anything, it feels like the situation may be building toward a moment that could reshape everything we think we understand. If you have been following this entire timeline, share your thoughts below. Do you think the situation is simply a misunderstanding amplified by public attention? Or do you believe there are still missing pieces that have not been fully explained? Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more updates, and share it with anyone who has been tracking this story closely. And don't forget to leave your perspective in the comments, because the conversation is far from over. We will see you in the next one.